After the breakup, I went to my ex's place to steal our dog. I thought a mother's love was stronger than anything. But when I walked in, what did I see? Holy crap. My ex had bought a female dog. No matter how many times I called his name, my dear son wouldn't budge. A mother's love had officially lost to romance. Furious, I turned to leave, only to see my ex walking through the door. Our eyes met. That bastard ex of mine grinned. What's this? Thinking of getting back together? I could live without the man. But I had to have the dog. So, after I broke up with Evan, I was on a mission to get our dog back. That jerk. He was always bossing our Bean around like a drill sergeant. If I left Bean with him, he'd be miserable and humiliated. I would not let that happen. I'd done my intel and knew he had a work dinner tonight, so Operation Rescue Bean was a go. I even bought an all-black outfit for the occasion. Hat, sunglasses, mask, the works. I stood outside Evan's apartment building. Taking a deep breath, I thought, Bean, Mama's here to bust you out of jail. When I got to his apartment on the 6th floor, I said a little prayer. I prayed that idiot hadn't changed the keypad code yet, or I wouldn't even get in. The code was my birthday, 0829. He'd set it that way because my memory is terrible, and I could never remember the old one. Beep 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 beep, access granted. Yes. The heavens were on my side. Bean. Beanie, Mama's here. I called into the dark apartment. After a moment, Bean slowly trotted out from the bedroom. Damn, he'd lost weight. My heart ached. Seeing me, he started wiggling, his tail wagging so hard it was a blur. But for some reason, he wouldn't come closer. My eyes welled up as I rushed in and hugged him. My Bean must have missed me like crazy, because I'd missed him to death. He snuggled against me for a while and even ate a whole bag of his favorite treats. Bean, Mama's taking you home. I clipped on the new leash I'd bought and got ready to pull him out. Huh? What was wrong with him? He wouldn't leave with me. I crouched down, petting his head to soothe him. It's Mama's fault. I'm sorry I couldn't get you sooner. Don't be mad, I'm here now, okay? Good boy. Bean tilted his head, then suddenly nipped the cuff of my pants and started pulling, trying to get me to follow him. Whatever. Evan wasn't home. I could rob the place blind and he'd never know. I followed my boy into the master bedroom. I smelled something unfamiliar and immediately flipped on the light. Whoa. Get a load of this. No wonder Bean didn't want to leave. There was a beautiful female golden retriever in the bedroom. She was sitting on the balcony, looking at me with a confused expression. Damn it. Evan, you absolute dog. To stop me from dognapping our son, you used a honey trap. And the worst part? My Bean fell for it. He was practically radiating hormones, prancing around the female, way more excited to see her than me. Sigh. A mother's love had been defeated by romance. Then, an idea struck me. Stealing one dog is a crime, stealing two isn't much different. I might as well take them both. Gritting my teeth, I went over and offered the female a bag of treats. This golden, no, my Bean's girlfriend, was just as sweet as he was. She let me pet her and even nuzzled my face. This could work. I found another leash, clipped it on her, and was about to make a run for it with a dog in each hand when the front door opened. There was Evan, that smug, punchable look on his face, his dark eyes glinting with amusement. He drawled, "What's this? Thinking of getting back together?" I nearly jumped out of my skin. That old saying about a guilty conscience is no joke. For a second, my knees felt weak. But the sight of that punchable face fired me right up. Are you delusional? I clutched the leashes tighter, ready to fight for my cause. I'm just here to see my son. Tough talk. Evan's expression cooled, his eyes landing on Bean. That little traitor, prancing around with his girlfriend, wagging his tail like a maniac. He was so happy to see his dad that if it weren't for the leash, he'd probably be jumping into his arms. Are you going to let go? I was already losing control of the two excited dogs, their pulling twisting my body sideways. Evan came over to take the leashes, but I wouldn't let go. I raised this dog. If you don't want to get back together, then you're here to steal him. He crossed his arms, settling in to watch the show. Chloe, you've just committed breaking and entering. I knew that, damn it. We both went to law school. I didn't need him to tell me. But there was no way I was giving up. Good, you're back. We need to discuss custody of the dog. If I couldn't steal him, I'd demand him outright. I paid for Bean. Spoken like a true lawyer, he went straight for the attack. I scoffed. But you gave him to me as a gift. He bought Bean to keep me company. It was a gift. Gifts can be reclaimed under certain circumstances. He wasn't backing down. I laughed. What's next? You gonna bill me for all the meals your mom cooked for me? He gave me the dog, and now he wanted him back. Cheapskate. That was my mother's effort. She has the right to decide. Evan's comebacks were seamless. Then he looked at me with a half smile. Chloe, you're the one who said we had to settle everything cleanly when we broke up. I am an idiot. Why did I have to say that? I knew I was no match for Evan in a legal debate, yet I still provoked him. I couldn't think of a good counter-argument, so I just pointed at Bean. He's gotten so thin since he's been with you. He has lost a little weight. He didn't deny that part. But before I could celebrate, he added, but that's his own fault. He gave a pointed look at Bean and his girlfriend, then chuckled. You know, young love, all that energy. I never should have brought it up. I glared at him. I'm taking Bean with me today, and that's final. For the future happiness of my dog, Chloe was prepared to be completely unreasonable. But Evan's smirk just got wider. You let go of the leash. If Bean follows you, I won't stop you. My eyes lit up. I immediately dropped the leashes, ran to the door, and pulled out Bean's favorite treats. Come with Mama, okay? Mama will spoil you. Bean, come on, boy. Come to Mama. That dumb dog just sat next to his girlfriend, wagging his tail at me, but he wouldn't move an inch. His girlfriend was even worse, she was already playing with Evan. I was crushed. Evan, that son of a bitch, he was devious. He'd used a honey trap on my Bean to drive a wedge between us. The dog wasn't coming with me, and I couldn't lose any more face. Fuming, I turned to leave, but Evan's slow, amused voice followed me. You could crash on the couch tonight. You know, rebuild your bond with Bean. I shot him a venomous look. Bean already had a new love. How was I supposed to win him over? Unless he was willing to give me Bean's girlfriend, then I could get him to come home with me. Machi is my private property. He saw right through me. Chloe, he said, his eyes cool, I already gave you a chance. I let out a dry laugh. Forcing down the urge to tear him to shreds, I turned and fled. Back in the day, Evan and I were the power couple of our campus. He was the cool, top student, and I was the most popular girl in our department. We were so in love, practically inseparable. Who knew that after we broke up, he'd turn into such a conniving bastard? He'd even stoop to using a honey trap. As for why we broke up, I didn't notice it in school, but once we started working, I realized he was a total paternal boyfriend. Everything I did, he had to lecture me about it, afraid I'd make a mistake or fall into someone's trap. But hello, I have a brain. Who can stand that constant nagging? The last straw was this financial dispute case I took on. I finally finished the strategy, and he just shot it down without a second thought. I was so pissed, I broke up with him on the spot. Whoever wants a replacement dad can have him. I was done. Thinking about the case now, I wanted to scream at the sky. Why couldn't I escape Evan even after we broke up? Why did I have a brain fart and join the same law firm as him, where he became my direct supervisor. Oh, cruel world, what did I do in a past life to deserve this? Anger is one thing, but a corporate drone still has to work. The court date for the financial case was fast approaching. The next day, I presented my revised strategy in the team meeting. Of course, I hadn't changed much. I still believed my plan was solid and that Evan was just giving me a hard time. I was fully prepared for him to shoot it down again. But this time, he approved it. My eyes widened in surprise. So, you're saying I can use this strategy in court? Of course. He nodded, but then added, but there are a few key points that need adjustment. Fine, I could live with that. I don't think so. Amber, her face grim, challenged Evan's decision. She joined the firm at the same time as us, and her skills were on par with mine. She loved nothing more than to find fault with my work. If you asked who I disliked the most, Evan would have to get in line behind her. Then what do you suggest? Evan had been the cool, aloof guy back in school, his face like an ice sculpture, sharp and cold. The years had only made him more stern and imposing. He might be a jerk, but I had to admit, he had a powerful presence. We should scrap this plan and start over. Amber said it so casually. I let out a bitter laugh. It's easy for you to say, isn't it? If making a new plan was so easy, would I have been stuck arguing with Evan for so long? If it's not right, it should be scrapped. She kept arguing with me. It was clear she was just trying to make my life harder since she wasn't the one doing the work. She then looked at Evan. Evan, this case has wide-reaching implications. The boss trusted our team with it. With all due respect, Chloe just doesn't have the experience. Then who do you think does? You? Evan's face darkened, his eyes flashing with a cold light. Amber, do your job. One more outburst like that and you can transfer to another team. Amber's face went pale. But she still shot back, fine, play favorites. But when she loses, it'll be the firm's reputation on the line. She won't lose. Not on my watch. Evan stood up, tall and straight, his expression severe. Chloe, come with me. We're revising the plan. Evan had actually picked a fight with Amber for me. I was completely stunned. Ever since we became colleagues, he was constantly on my case about how I should do my job, or complaining about how hopelessly clumsy I was. And to be fair, he had cleaned up my messes more than a few times. You don't have to do this for me. I figured my plan must still have a lot of flaws for Amber to target me like that. But just getting Evan's approval made me happy. Chloe, a lawyer, represents justice. He was about to launch into one of his signature lectures, but seeing as he'd just defended me, I was willing to listen this time. To my surprise, though, he didn't lecture me. He just pointed out the areas that needed fixing. Rework the arguments for these key points, and I'll review them again. Chloe, for this case, you have to win. Losing is not an option. He said it with such severity. I stared at him, blurting out, Evan, why are you doing this? Handing me such an important case, if I failed, I don't know what would happen to me, but he would definitely face the boss's wrath. He frowned, his gaze intense. If I remember correctly, you graduated in the top 10 of our class. Chloe, where's your edge? My edge? I stared at him, my mind drifting back. Evan and I were both top students in the law department. He was even more brilliant than me, with girls constantly fawning over him. Yet, he accepted my confession. He'd said, Chloe, I love your resilience and your drive. I love your confident, sunny smile. I was so touched back then. But when did I start letting life sand down my edges? Think about it. Evan gave me a long, deep look before leaving. He must have given me this case to force my hand, to push me. And I'd responded by breaking up with him. A mix of emotions churned inside me. I bit my lip and started reworking the plan from scratch. A tree that gets used to being sheltered grows weak. And me? I had to force myself to stand tall again. Turns out, redoing the plan wasn't that hard. Before, I was just being stubborn with Evan, feeling like he was deliberately making things difficult, so I refused to listen to him. Now that I'd had a change of heart, while I didn't start from scratch, I poured all my effort into the revisions. Amber walked past my desk, holding a cup of coffee. A sneer drifted into my ear. "Chloe, so what if Evan's got your back? You're still useless, a lost cause." I'd been so protected by Evan that I was like a caged tiger, my instincts slowly fading away. "You must have a lot of free time, constantly competing with a lost cause." I shot back without even looking up, my focus still on my work. She was probably annoyed that I didn't react as she'd expected. "Humph. That pathetic plan of yours? You could revise it 100 times, and it would still be trash." "Well, that's better than not revising it at all." Once I found the key points Evan mentioned and set aside my personal feelings to look at the case objectively, I instantly understood why he'd shot it down. The problems were obvious. If I'd gone to court with those arguments, would have almost certainly lost. "Chloe, are you on something?" Amber looked shocked, probably wondering why I wasn't fighting back. I couldn't be bothered with her anymore. I had been so naive before. I treated the workplace like a schoolyard, still playing by those old rules. When I had a problem, I'd run to Evan. When I was bored, I'd pick a fight with him. I'd forgotten that I used to be pretty damn good on my own. Amber walked away in a huff. I gathered the questions I couldn't figure out and went to ask Evan. He always loved to lecture me, so he explained everything in great detail. I diligently took notes. He looked surprised. "Chloe, did you have an epiphany or something? Did it finally click?" "It's all thanks to your excellent teaching." I buttered him up a little, which made him chuckle. "All right, stop trying to sweet-talk me. What do you want me to do for you this time?" "Okay, I admit, I used to sweet-talk him into doing things for me. But this time, I was serious. I just realized it hasn't been easy for you. Even after we broke up, you didn't give up on me." I hated his nagging and had told him off in my head 1,000,000 times. But he never stopped trying to help me get back on my feet. Just thinking about it, I felt like he'd spoiled me rotten, making me incredibly selfish. "I'm glad you see that." His eyes lit up, and he smiled. "You always said I was a paternal boyfriend, always trying to control you. Well, no dad gives up on his daughter that easily." Wait, something about that didn't sound right. My eyes widened. "You, Evan. You're finding new ways to get one over on me, aren't you?" He burst out laughing. "Then call me Dad and let's hear it." He wasn't getting a dad, but he did get a light flick on the forehead. He rubbed his head, looking at me with a wounded expression. "Chloe, you've changed. You used to." "Oh, shut up." I felt my face flush. That man was as annoying as ever. With Evan's help, revising the plan went smoothly. At the next meeting, everyone on the team approved it, except for Amber, who was still making snide remarks. When we sent it to the boss for review, his feedback was that it was a breath of fresh air. My confidence came flooding back. With the plan finalized, all that was left was to wait for the court date. With some free time on my hands, I started thinking about my little traitor, Bean. I wondered if Evan was taking good care of him. He had a girlfriend to keep him company now. He probably didn't even remember his old mom. But Evan, as if reading my mind, showed up at my door that evening with Bean in tow. "He missed you at home, so I brought him over for a visit." The dog was already jumping with excitement. I rushed over to hug him, and he gently licked my hand. My sweet boy, at least Mama's love wasn't all for nothing. I was touched that he still remembered me. As I was playing with him, Evan was already heading to the kitchen. "You play with Bean. I'll make dinner." Did he have any awareness that we were broken up? But Evan's cooking was incredible. Just thinking about his food made my mouth water. The words of refusal died on my lips. "Bean, this is Mama's home." The clatter of pots and pans echoed from the kitchen, a comforting, domestic sound. I gave Bean a tour of my small apartment, pointing to a corner of the living room. You can live right there. There's room for Machi, too. He had a girlfriend now, so of course, they needed a big bed. But my dear son was not impressed. He flopped onto the floor and refused to move, his eyes fixed on the front door. Seriously? He just got here and he's already missing his girlfriend? Evan. I ground my teeth. Next time, bring his girlfriend with you so I'm not accused of breaking up a happy home. He just got here and he already wants to leave. This ungrateful child. I scooped Bean into my arms and squeezed his cheeks. He has a girlfriend now. You shouldn't be hugging him all the time. His girl might get jealous, Evan called out suddenly. I scoffed, not believing his nonsense for a second. I told him I wanted Bean to stay with me for a few days before I sent him back. The moment the words left my mouth, Bean shot up, whining anxiously at the door. He then ran to the kitchen, bit Evan's pant leg, and started pulling him toward the exit. I was so mad I could have laughed. You little punk, song Bean. Got a girlfriend and forgot all about your mom, huh? Evan was bent over, laughing. This dog was a lost cause. I glared at him. Fine, don't stay. You can both go home right after dinner. As soon as I said it, he quieted down. He had a girlfriend and a doting dad. As his mom, I was officially jealous. How about I move in? Evan said it casually as he brought the food to the table. I stared at him. Both of you, get out. Having to look at them both every day, I'd be too angry to even eat. He just smiled, not arguing, and said meaningfully, you can't keep a daughter at home forever. I'm used to it by now. What the hell? Seeing the twinkle in his eye, it suddenly dawned on me. That jerk. He was getting one over on me again. Damn him. After dinner, Evan cleaned up and then tidied my apartment. Watching his busy figure, I was filled with a sense of wonder. This man was a real catch, total husband material, if only he didn't nag so much. Evan was definitely a neat freak with a touch of OCD. I'd heard his lectures so often I was immune. He'd ramble on, and I'd binge-watch my shows. We coexisted peacefully. The only one getting antsy was Bean, who would periodically stand up, pace a few steps, and then stare at the door. He was clearly lovesick for his girlfriend. I suddenly felt a pang of sympathy for Evan. The two dogs were all lovey-dovey at his place, while he was still a single man. I can either bring Machi here, or I can take Bean back with me. After he finished cleaning, he gave me two options. I blinked, giving him my sweetest, most innocent smile. Can I just have both dogs? The dogs stay, he leaves. Nope. Where the dogs are, I am. His mood soured in an instant. He clipped the leash on Bean and was about to leave. No wonder people in the industry said he was unpredictable. I quickly grabbed the leash, forcing a smile. Can't we talk about this? Look, my place is small. There's really no room. It was just a one-bedroom apartment. If he moved in, he'd end up in my bed again. We were broken up. That was a firm no. Then you move. He said it with the same finality he used in court when presenting irrefutable evidence, leaving the opposing counsel speechless. I had to laugh. Can't you be a little flexible? No. Evan was the very definition of inflexible. Fine, I gave up. But as my boy was leaving, he kept looking back at me, his round, dark eyes filled with a deep affection. That dependent little look hit me right in the heart. I instantly remembered how Evan used to scold him. Bean was so mischievous. When his dad would yell at him, he used to hide in my arms and cry. Now that I was gone, what would he do? And he was thinner. What if that jerk Evan was taking the opportunity to abuse him? This was petty revenge. I'll move. For my beloved Bean, I'd endure it. I packed a change of clothes and my essential documents, and followed Evan back to his place. The entire way there, a faint, knowing smile played on his lips. It made my teeth itch. I said huffily, I'm only doing this so Bean doesn't have to suffer. It has nothing to do with you. I was not trying to get back together with him. I know. He chuckled. So, where are you sleeping tonight? Evan's place was a 2-bedroom, so naturally, I'd take the guest room. But I never expected him to be so devious. He'd converted the guest room into a private suite for Bean and Machi, even removing the bed. The room was filled with dog supplies, including a deluxe dog bed, but there was no place for me. You're not actually thinking of squatting in the dog's room, are you? That horrible man. He was grinning so wide his face was about to crack, yet he pretended to be surprised. And listened to what he was saying. Me, a respectable young woman, do something so undignified? I'd sleep on the couch. For my sweet boy, I would endure it. I was so grateful for my foresight. When we were picking out furniture, I had insisted on the softest, most comfortable couch. While it wasn't quite a bed, it was within my tolerance level. He, for his part, had the good sense not to tease me any further. Lying on the couch, petting my beloved dog, I was perfectly content. The only problem was Evan, who kept pacing around the living room, making me dizzy. Can you just sit still for a minute? It's my house. I can't walk around in it. He was even more indignant than I was. I have to work in the living room. Scoot over. He was doing this on purpose. But he'd already brought his laptop out to work, so I had no choice but to shift to the side. Thankfully, he sat at the end of the couch by my feet, so it wasn't too awkward. Are you really working late? I watched him type furiously for a moment, then frown and thought. I couldn't help but ask, which case? Your financial dispute case. The hearing is in 3 days. The strategy needs to be perfect so you'll be unbeatable. When Evan was serious, he was incredibly cool and handsome. Even though I was used to seeing his face, I couldn't help but stare. And since it was my case, I leaned in closer. He pointed to the screen, explaining the points where the opposing counsel might counterattack. I've already made notes for you. Tomorrow, focus on reviewing them. If you have any questions, talk to me immediately. We need to be 100% confident before we go to court. He'd covered my strategy in dense, handwritten notes. A top student, through and through. Okay. He was putting in so much effort, I couldn't let him down. He, however, let out a sentimental laugh. Chloe, after watching over you for so long, you've finally grown up. Ugh, my bad. I apologized meekly. I was too selfish before. I won't be like that anymore. Actually, you don't have to be so sensible. Just when I was planning to walk the straight and narrow, he wanted to be my stumbling block. I promised I'd always spoil you, and I don't break my promises. It's just that the workplace is vicious, and being a lawyer is a unique profession, so I wanted you to mature quickly. Everything he said made sense. But I couldn't resist talking back. You should also try to trust me instead of micromanaging everything. He was so worried I'd mess this or that up, and in the end, I just became useless. He was exactly like an overbearing parent. I'm sorry. He looked at me, his dark eyes bright and sincere. This case is me letting go. I hope you make a big splash. I blinked, then suddenly burst out laughing. Admit it. Don't you sound just like a dad pushing his daughter to succeed? My own father didn't worry about me this much. Then call me Dad. He was pushing his luck. I raised my hand to flick his forehead, but he caught my wrist. His dark eyes were full of a deep, tender love, just like before. Chloe, please come back. I froze. His breath drew closer, his whisper a soft accusation. You just left, without a thought for me or Bean. And you only noticed that he got thinner. You didn't even notice that I lost weight, too. Oh. Had he? Still don't believe me? He guided my hand to his waist. It used to feel solid, but now, it definitely felt leaner. A soft kiss landed on my lips. Are you sure you can just leave me and Bean behind? We both miss you so much. I must have been put under a spell by Evan. I'd talked so tough, acted so tough, but all it took was a few soft, sweet words from him, and I caved. After all that, wasn't I just eating my words? I'm the one who asked to get back together. I'm the one who couldn't bear to lose you. You're still the toughest, most principled Chloe I know. After all these years together, that jerk knew me best. Since he was asking so sincerely, I guess I could condescend to agree to get back together. It was as if Bean knew Evan and I had made up. He started doing happy zoom eyes all over the place. His girlfriend, Machi, was much calmer, like a proper little lady. And I was the happiest of all. Not only had we cleared up our misunderstanding, but now I had two amazing dogs. But there was still work to be done. Under Evan's supervision, I began to cram, learning the rules of the professional world. I had memorized every single aspect of that financial dispute case. Finally, the court date arrived. Evan brought the whole team to sit in the gallery. Partly so everyone could learn something, and partly, as he said, to be my rock. If I saw him in the audience, I'd remember all the key points. I wanted to laugh at his ego, but in the end, I was so moved I just threw myself into his arms. With him there, I felt completely at ease. And this man truly was my strongest pillar of support. I was the plaintiff's lawyer. The opposing counsel was a well-known lawyer in the industry. When he saw me take the floor, he shot a surprised glance at Evan. But Evan just raised an eyebrow, giving him a look of pure, arrogant disdain. And then, I saw the other lawyer get angry. I hid a smile. Evan always said that in law, it's a battle of wits and psychology. The moment your opponent loses their cool, you have an opening. I had taken that lesson to heart. I immediately requested to speak. Once granted, I began, my client lent the defendant $3 million. Now that the defendant has skipped town, the guarantor is responsible for the debt. My client has the right to demand that $3 million from him. The money never passed through my client's hands. The other lawyer shot back quickly. I had to laugh. The defendant borrowed the money, so of course it wouldn't pass through the guarantor's hands. But the guarantor shares the responsibility. Evan was right. When people are emotional, their defenses are weakest. I couldn't believe he'd say something so pointless. Even so, my client's liability is only secondary. You should first assess the debtor's ability to pay before coming after the guarantor. The debtor has declared bankruptcy. We were only in court because we couldn't get the money any other way. To be honest, I felt for the guarantor. One person was willing to lend, another was willing to borrow, and the guarantor was just a formality. But he had rotten luck. The debtor went bankrupt and vanished, leaving him to pay the debt. A classic case of being stabbed in the back by someone you trust. I request a full investigation into all of the debtor's assets to liquidate them for the debt first. The opposing lawyer was starting to pull himself together. But he had already admitted the debt existed. Whatever the debtor couldn't pay, the guarantor would have to cover. The lawsuit went more smoothly than I'd imagined, and the case was settled right there in the courtroom. The moment I stepped out, Evan was there to greet me with a bouquet of sunflowers, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Congratulations on your first victory. Mission accomplished. Thank you. I took the sunflowers, a genuine smile on my face. I'd actually been pretty nervous before court, especially when I saw that the opposing counsel was as well known as Evan. But that one look of arrogant disdain from Evan had given me a huge boost of confidence. With him as my backup, what did I have to fear? All I had to do was go for it. Congrats. I didn't think you'd actually win. Amber walked over, a smile on her face that didn't reach her cold, hostile eyes. I pretended not to notice and smiled back. It's all thanks to Evan's great coaching. Without Evan, there would be no triumphant Chloe. Come on, I'm treating everyone to dinner. Evan pulled me away, leading me out before Amber could get another jab in. As we left, I looked back and shot a defiant glance at Amber's stormy face. Ha! I was just better than her. And my boyfriend was more brilliant. So what if she was mad? She could spontaneously combust for all I cared. Evan treated the whole team to dinner at a nice restaurant. Everyone was in high spirits after the win, but I went to the restroom for a minute, and when I came back, Amber was cozying up to Evan. She was pretending to be drunk, trying to lean against him. Evan, you're so amazing. I leaned against the doorway, watching coldly as she giggled. You're not dating anyone, are you? What kind of girl do you like? Our colleague started laughing. Amber, you've got a crush on our Evan, don't you? You should just confess to him. Go for it. If you succeed, we'll be waiting for a wedding invitation. As everyone egged her on, a hopeful look appeared in Amber's eyes, and she was about to press herself against Evan, but he pushed her away. His eyes were as cold as ice. You're not my type. The table fell silent. Our colleagues exchanged awkward glances, but Evan paid them no mind. He ignored Amber's mortified expression and looked up at me. Chloe, how long are you going to stand there and watch the show? Oh. When he used my full name, it usually meant trouble. I put on a placating smile and hurried into the private room. You all seemed so deep in conversation, I didn't want to interrupt. Conversation? You've got some nerve. Your boyfriend's about to be stolen, and you don't even care. He complained as if no one else was in the room, completely ignoring the shocked looks on everyone's faces. Amber's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of her head. She pointed at me in disbelief. You two are a couple? Is there a problem? The cat was out of the bag. I pulled her away from Evan's side. We've been dating for 5 years. I hear you were about to confess your love to him. Amber, I can let you have a case, but my boyfriend is off limits. Evan and I might bicker, he might think I'm unreliable and I might think he's a nag, but we were each other's person. Stealing him? Don't even think about it. Amber's expression darkened. She grabbed her purse and stormed out. I let out a soft, mocking laugh. What, can't handle a little competition? She gets a little rattled and just bails? Amber paused for a second, then stormed out even faster. All right, let's have a drink, everyone. Someone with quick wits changed the subject. I didn't pay Amber's reaction any mind. We'd had more fights than I could count. This was just one more. Don't let her get to you. Evan whispered to me. I glanced at him. What, you feel sorry for her? What are you talking about? Evan's eyes widened, and he squeezed my palm. What if she tries to pull something on you behind your back? I'm not exactly a pushover. You're a softie. Too easy to bully. He squeezed my palm, then started tracing circles on my fingers. There's no need to put yourself at risk over her, understand? The feeling of his fingers sent a shiver down my spine and made my face flush. I nodded meekly. Even though I wasn't afraid of Amber's dirty tricks, he'd told me to be careful, so I'd listen. After all, I was the most obedient little girlfriend. I never thought Evan's words would come true. Amber went off the deep end, constantly trying to sabotage me in secret. She'd accidentally spill coffee on my case files or shove me in the hallway. Once, she almost pushed me down the stairs. Luckily, Evan was talking to someone nearby and rushed over to catch me. As a result, Amber was fired from the firm. A year later, Evan was made a partner at the firm. With his intelligence and talent, he had become a rising star in the legal world in just 5 short years, his net worth soaring. I was still a member of his team, but I had also made a name for myself. The night he got his partnership contract, we had a romantic celebration on our little balcony. Congratulations, Mr. Evan. You've finally made your dream come true. I raised my glass to him. Our 2 fur babies were weaving around our legs. He smiled. It's our dream. When we were young and reckless, we dreamed of opening our own law firm. Even though he was just a partner now, it was still incredibly satisfying. I smiled and clinked my glass against his, downing the drink in one go. I was grateful he remembered those words. And I was grateful that he was always by my side, spoiling me and loving me just as he always had. Bean, go get the box on my bed. Evan suddenly commanded. Our good boy trotted happily into the master bedroom and came back with a small velvet box in his mouth. Evan opened it. Inside was a sparkling diamond ring. Chloe, we've been on this 7-year journey together. I think it's time to upgrade our relationship status. He held the ring out to me, his eyes full of a gentle love. Will you marry me? There weren't many sweet words, but they warmed my heart to the core. Just as he slipped the ring on my finger, Machi trotted over with a bouquet of roses in her mouth, nuzzling affectionately against my leg. They're the witnesses to our love story. Evan took the flowers and handed them to me, his eyes smiling. Now you'll never have to steal a dog or be separated from our son again. That was so long ago. I held the roses and pouted at him. When you turned the guest room into a dog room back then, you did that on purpose, didn't you? A father gets desperate when his daughter runs away from home. He winked, looking completely innocent. I reached out to flick his forehead but ended up tumbling into his arms, which sent the dogs into a fit of happy barks. And his kiss, full of love, landed on my lips. Chloe, I love you. I closed my eyes and kissed him back passionately. I loved him, and I loved our dogs. I loved our warm, happy little family more than anything. Together, forever.